TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and
Jared, hey, we're gonna need you to tone it down with the Summer Friday thing, okay?
What are you talking about?
Well, for one, it's not summer anymore.
Oh, really?
Coconut. Also, who is this?
I'm the caddy.
Oh, he's my intern.
Sorry, intern. I'm his intern.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
No golfing in the office, okay? Summer Fridays are over. You can keep the Hawaiian shirt, but the rest of this stuff, all right? Are you grilling?
Oh, yeah. Did you want a burger or a hot dog?
No, grilling in the office.
It's a good point. We should take this outside.
No, that don't. You put that right back down.
Yo, it's all in the hips.
Oh, dude, come on, we gotta go. Let's go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Balls and Bowties podcasts. I am your co-host, Noah Franke.
And I'm your other co-host, Rhyan Shanklin.
And we will be walking you guys through all the sports that are going right now. Like I said, there's a lot of them going, but we're going to focus mostly on college football, NFL, and NBA right now. College basketball maybe eventually, but not today probably, as it's getting interesting with all the elite teams. But like I said, it's for another day. We want to thank our sponsors first and foremost. WagerWire. If you have not downloaded the app, why not? It's free. It puts all your sports bettings together, so that way you know where you're at and you can have a better service. And then we have Viva Tequila Seltzer, which is our adult beverages for any of you who partake in that. They have all the good flavors, including coconut and possibly a new flavor, which they said is coming out soon. And then the most recent one, Atlanta Steaks and Seafoods. If you don't have a turkey or ham or any kind of meat for your Thanksgiving, go to atlantasteaksandseafoods.com or go to Facebook and follow Terry Smith and get you all your orders before Thanksgiving, and use code STEAK10 for 10% off any of your orders. I'm going to adjust the camera real quick. So, Ryan, if you want to do it, just a quick recap on the NFL, and then we'll go to college football.
Yeah. Good slate of games this week. Starting off with the big one. The Chiefs go down. Chiefs lose to the Bills 30-21. The Bills just had the Chiefs numbers. Bills had the Chiefs number this weekend. Pat Mahomes threw a timely turnover to seal the victory for them. And then the biggest game, in my opinion, this week was Steelers and Ravens. Just for the sole fact that the Steelers won without scoring a single touchdown. And I actually saw a fact. I saw a stat yesterday. They were saying that with that win yesterday, the Steelers have more wins without a touchdown than quite a few teams in the league. They're 2-0. They're 2-0 when they are winning games without scoring a touchdown. And you have the Jaguars who are 2-9, and they're scoring some touchdowns. But the fact that you can beat a Ravens team who is really good this year. They're 7-4. Kind of discredits them, their record, but a really good Ravens team. You're beating them without scoring a touchdown. That says something. And then we also had the Green Bay Packers and the Bears. Green Bay pulls that one out with a last-second blocked field goal. Second week in a row that we've seen one of those this week. Interesting thing about this game was as close as it was, Caleb Williams threw 231 yards, but he had no touchdowns, but no interceptions. But he was also sacked 3 times.
Mhm.
And then you had Jordan Love, who performed well, 261 yards, 1 touchdown, and an interception, and he was only sacked once. So that kind of just speaks volumes within itself. If these Bears can kind of get things going and Caleb Williams can get the ball in the end zone, then they might be a dangerous team.
Yeah, there's so many interesting games, including that one. It felt like maybe the Bears could finally break through on this huge streak they've had of like they can't beat the Packers.
Yeah.
And it comes down to a field goal gets blocked, and it's the same thing like we saw like last week with the Chiefs and Broncos. Broncos finally going to break through that barrier, and the football gods said no. Basically, is what we're seeing. And, it's almost like maybe somebody just copy and pasted a script or something. NFL. I don't know anything permanently, but as a viewer, I can't count that out. But there certainly are a lot of good games this week too.
Yeah. Big one, the Monday night game, the Ravens-Chargers. Ravens 7-4, Chargers 7-3. We'll see how both these teams bounce back off losses.
Mm-hmm.
That will be a really big game this week. And then we also have Niners-Packers. Niners record discredits them and that football team, but with Chris McCaffrey back, they might be making a nice little run here to finish off the season. And then we also have the Cowboys-Commanders. That's always a good game to watch. And Cooper Rush, he actually performed pretty well last night. Kind of discredits the score, but he performed pretty well last night. So that could be a good game to look out for, that Commanders-Cowboys game. And then we got a divisional game between the Eagles and the Rams. That'll be a good one. 8-2 Eagles versus 5-5 Rams. So that'll be a good game to look out for. But what are you thinking as far as that Eagles-Rams game?
Yeah, Eagles. I mean, they've been hot, right? Saquon's a huge part of that. He's been there. He's had the best year he's ever had in this Eagles offense.
Yeah.
Like we said, I'm still not really sure about the Sirianni and everything he brings to the table and how much he affects winning versus almost hurts them with the way that he runs the program.
Yeah.
And the Rams are just so beat up. They do have their stars back a little bit, but they still got so many injuries that are key. So it's like, what do we got? You got to find a way to balance that in a way. And I just don't see the Rams being able to counter their losses with a Philadelphia Eagles team who seems to be on the right track.
Absolutely. Yeah, Rams are losing a big offensive tackle on Rob Havenstein. But yeah, I agree with you there. Looking at the spread right now, it's only -3 for the Eagles. So that comes at a bit of a surprise. But, I mean, like you said, the Rams are getting a few pieces back in Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. So we'll see how they do. I personally think the Eagles are still going to pull this one out. It's kind of hard to bet against those guys.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts is getting things done. He's getting things done. And it helps when you're getting AJ Brown involved. He's been pretty good this year. 618 yards on 33 receptions with 3 touchdowns. Then you got Saquon, who's 1,000+ yards, 8 touchdowns on just under 200 carries. So I speaks volumes within itself. But then, I mean, on the Rams side, you got Kyron Williams, 750 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 191 carries. So they're about what yardage wise. I mean, obviously it's Saquon there, but then that's Saquon. There's not much else. Yeah, that's what he does. That's what he gets paid for. But yeah, this is going to be a good game to watch. And then, what are your thoughts on that Cowboys-Commanders game?
Yeah, the very important bounce back week for the Commanders, right? They're sliding here.
Yeah,
and part of that is like, okay, did teams figure out this college offense with Jaden Daniels, and is he slowly getting figured out, or is the impact that he made was just a big energy boost? Now maybe it's realistic football for the Commanders. But the Cowboys are so beaten up themselves. I mean, Dak's out, which, as much as, people want to hate on Dak, a backup quarterback versus Dak, there's a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't see the way the Commanders lose, right, because of the implications that Dak has with his injuries. But at the same time, the Commanders came off a tough loss, like emotional loss, one you needed to win versus the Eagles. So maybe they're not as prepared as they should be if the coaches don't handle it right.
Absolutely. Commanders are coming off 2 straight losses. But But I mean, that's no discredit to Jaden Daniels and what he's doing with this club. The Pittsburgh game was a 1-point loss, and then obviously the game against the Eagles was an 8-point loss. So I mean, these are still 1 and 2 possession games, just depending on how things go and 2-point conversions and all that. So they're definitely getting things done. It's definitely like an emotional game far as just these two being big rivals.
Yeah.
But it's also just an emotional game for Jaden Daniels to kind of get this team back on their feet. The Commanders are actually -10 on the spread, so that I definitely see that happening for sure. But also, I mean, Cowboys, they're coming off of a strong loss this past week as well. So could we see them coming out with some extra firepower this week? And I mean, Cooper Rush, like I said, he didn't look bad. This is a different Washington. There's a different defense that he's facing, obviously. The Commanders defense, they're kind of.
Yeah, they have their days.
Yeah, they have their days. So it just depends on what kind of Commanders defense he faces. He might actually perform well, and I think I may have the Cowboys with an upset here.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. And it to me it's proving already. He's proving why he's starting over Trey Lance, and to have a game like this where you could win, you can pull out a big upset. There's a big reason. There's a big chip on his shoulder where he can go use that and perform well because, man, they need one right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking to that Green Bay San Francisco game, what do you think?
Yeah, San Fran finally gets their savior back in Chris McCaffrey,
Yeah.
and a lot of people's fantasy saviors here. And there's a lot of big implications for them, and their division's relatively open in my opinion. I think the Cardinals, the last time I checked, were the winning or the division leaders.
Yeah.
At like 5-4 that's when I checked. It's been a while, but there's a lot of things there that can be moved, and if they make a big run here, they could win that division and walk out of there without a wild card spot, which would be huge. And they'd be probably a 3 seed, right? Because
right.
the Lions will take the 1st seed, and
yeah, right now the Cardinals are leading NFC West at 6-4. San Fran's at 5-5. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So they really need that win, but and the Packers, man, the Packers are tough. It feels like some of these games, like they shouldn't be winning them, but they find a way to win. I wouldn't count it as anything other than just pure grit. A younger team, we know that, and they just want to win. But obviously, the Bears choked away a little bit of their side.
Yeah.
But the Packers did their things to stay in the game when it felt like they should have been out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm personally going to take the 49ers. I think McCaffrey's going to have a huge, game. I think they've held him a little longer than it needed to. Yeah. Just so that way when he comes back, he can be that guy right away. They don't have to workload him. So I see McCaffrey with the big game and 49ers pulling out a big win.
Absolutely. I'm going to back you on that one just because, like you said, they've been holding him a little longer than expected. But it's like recharging his batteries pretty much. So when he comes out, he's going to come out and he's going to go guns blazing. They are at the bottom they're really towards like the middle of the NFC. They're sitting at like 10. But that they still have 8 weeks left, right?
Yeah.
Do they have a bye?
It's 12. Yeah, if they're 6-5, then they have to use their bye.
Okay, yeah. So they haven't used their bye yet, so they got really 7 full weeks of football to play. They're right there in the race. I see them probably finishing in that wild card spot for sure. Since they have McCaffrey back, but I definitely see this game being a really good game, and I don't know. I'm interested to see how well Jordan Love plays against the 49ers and that defense really. Yeah, this week.
Still a lot of good pieces on that, especially that D-line that you just can't. And Fred Warner in that middle was, in my opinion, the best middle linebacker in the league. So
yeah,
it's really tough. I mean, Jordan Love's going to have to figure out how to not just play hero ball a little bit. That's what he struggles with is when things go bad, he wants to shuck it down the field and take a chance, but he's not going to be able to do that versus a good 49ers team now.
Yeah.
But,
and then to finish things off, we got that Monday night game, the Ravens and the Chargers. That'll be a big game. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, the Chargers feel like a team that shouldn't be 6-3. You know what I mean? It's just like they have Justin Herbert and they have their quarterback in Harbaugh and their run game's been really good, but they don't really have weapons. I would say their O-line just struggles, and then it feels like they've had better defenses years prior. and that's what I struggle with. But at the same time, the Ravens just got beat by a team that didn't score on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like offensively, they have to be better. I get that Pittsburgh Steelers defense is impeccable, probably the best defense in the league. I would say not even arguably the best. They are the best defense.
Absolutely.
And so you know that's not, it's not saying too much against them, but to not even put a to not win that game when you held no touchdowns, it just says a lot about their offense and Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that the Ravens probably end up pulling this one out because I'm not huge on the Chargers, and I think that Lamar bounces back, and he has to for his MVP odds and his whatever he's fighting for. So
yeah,
it's gonna have to be Ravens, and I think it won't be a close one. I think it'll be +10.
Yeah. Moving on to some college football, we had an interesting this past week. We had Georgia knock off Tennessee with a 31-17 win. I can't say I'm too surprised by that, just because Georgia's really on the chopping block, so they have to win out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just now coming to them, I guess, that they need to, unleash that real Georgia football kind of thing going on. But what were your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, Tennessee's offense just didn't appear in the second half. I felt like, it's Georgia, so Georgia's probably a little better, but they've had so many struggles this year that it feels like you never don't really can count on them to be good, because they're not the same Georgia team that we've seen, and what Georgia has always been is consistent, and now they're not, and that's hard to see. But like you said, there were so many implications for them. They had to win to get back in. And Tennessee, even with the loss, they're still in according to the college football rankings, done by the committee. So it's just a matter of like who needed it more, who wants it more. And now they're both playing. It's going to be a little different, right? Tennessee and Georgia both have to win out to get it. But in that circumstance, coming in the second half, Georgia had a lot more to lose than Tennessee.
Absolutely, yeah. Speaking on those rankings, Georgia is now sitting at 8, and Tennessee is still sitting in at 10. And that's really the only two big moves.
Yeah.
Tennessee dropped 4, Georgia went up 3, Bama went up 2. They're sitting at 7. So this makes for an interesting last couple weeks to wrap up college football. But moving on to the next game, that Mizzou South Carolina game, close game.
If you didn't see the stadium literally shaking at the end of that touchdown, you're missing out. I've never seen anything like that in my life, but South Carolina pulled it out, right? And that's what they have to do to continue to win. Now, they're not going to make the playoffs, in my opinion. They don't have a chance.
Yeah.
There'd have to be so many weird things to happen for them to even be considered. But, man, good for them, because that program does look good for the future.
Absolutely. And then one of the games we talked about last week that we both thought was going to be a really gritty game is that Texas-Arkansas game. Texas pulls out the win as we expected, but they only win 20-10.
Yeah, Texas is a team that really needs to win, to solidify their spot because of what happened with Georgia. It's not like they lose, they come out. I think they'll still be in it if they lost Arkansas.
Yeah.
Definitely a lower seed, but they're proving that they're that they're a top 3 team in the league, the nation. That's what they're trying to prove with that win. And Arkansas is a tough team, ranked or unranked. I don't care what you have to say. That defense holds teams, and they've done it so many times, upset teams already this year, that you just can't count that team out ever. So,
absolutely, yeah. We talked about it. They have upset a few ranked teams this year, so the score really didn't come as a surprise to me, as much as it did to other people.
Yeah.
But that kind of speaks for itself. We had 2 upsets this week as well. We had Stanford beat Louisville by 3, 38-35, and then the bigger game, that Arizona State K-State game.
Yeah.
K-State goes down by 10.
The Big 12 really gets shaken up this week. BYU falls.
Yeah,
to
BYU
Kansas,
as well.
right?
Yeah.
So that the top seed that was pretty much secured coming into this week, we felt like, is now up for grabs. And then you felt like, okay, BYU lost. All K-State has to do is win, and they get that top seed. And then they lose. And now you're looking at, now Colorado's in there. They just beat Utah by 25.
Yeah.
So it's a race. It's between BYU, Colorado. Really, in my opinion, I think K-State could probably still get in there depending on how things shake up. But they're needing other teams to lose for them to get back, and that's never good, especially in a college football. Don't have 12 weeks, so I do like the direction of Colorado,
Yes.
and I think that Colorado is the better team. I think they will end up beating BYU in a Big 12 championship to solidify that spot for the Big 12 clinch. But man, it's hard to watch because you knew BYU eventually had to fall with all these close games they're playing, and they're not as good as their ranking was. But I didn't expect it to come from Kansas, and I'm a Kansas fan.
Yeah.
But we could never pull out big wins, and all of a sudden, that's a pretty big win on the road.
Absolutely.
So the Big 12 is and the ACC.
Yeah,
So,
he's super up for grabs right now. Miami going down. But I will say this, far as Big 12, me and you both said, I brought it up and you agreed with me here with Colorado when we first talked about it preseason wise. We really thought they were going to be a team that was going to perform well. And they were going to give teams a run for their money. And here they are sitting at, 17?
yeah, and And in the latest college football one, I think they beat out BYU in that Big 12 spot. They gave it to them. Now, obviously, it's going to have to depend on who wins that big game, the Big 12 championship. But, man, that's what's getting interesting right there. A division or a conference we didn't really know to start the year. I mean, they had 8 different teams receive first-place votes to start the preseason. Yeah. 8 of their 10 or something like that. It's insane. And so now it's coming down to be exactly what we thought it would be. It's going to be the last week championship game kind of thing.
Absolutely. Moving on to the games this week, we got a big one. 10-0 Indiana, finally, to me, facing a real big and good opponent, number 2 Ohio State at 9-1.
Yeah, I mean, let's just debunk that a little bit, right? That Indiana needs to win to get in. I would assume. I don't know what their ranking was. I saw 10 maybe on a mock rank, but maybe it wasn't theirs.
So currently they're sitting at 5.
Okay, they're sitting at 5.
It's a 2 versus 5.
This is a really tough matchup here for them. Obviously, Ohio State's a really good team, but because of their non-history in football, if they lose by anything more than 10, they just could get kicked out of the whole thing, and that really sucks for them because they haven't had a great year.
Yeah,
but they have to play close. I'm okay with them taking a 3-point loss, but I don't know if they can stay that close to an Ohio State team that I think is one of the best teams in the nation.
Absolutely. And speaking on that 10-point game, the spreads are actually at 13.5.
Exactly. And if that happens, if that spread is even close, Ohio State just might bounce them out of the playoffs and open up another team for like the SEC or something. So
absolutely. Yeah. Like you said, this is a game where Indiana has to win. And if they lose by anything less than a 1-score or a field goal game, then they're probably bounced. Which, like you said, it sucks. But like this is the first real big opponent that they have that has that college football playoff experience and has that level of talent that's needed to go. Right now, 73% of voters are voting for Ohio State over Indiana. So I mean, it's already there. We already knew they were going to be the underdog, but I was not expecting this big of a
they're undefeated, right? So it's hard to say Indiana's not capable of beating them.
Yeah,
but I think I want to get your opinion on what the implications would be for Ohio State if they lose. I don't really know where that goes for them. What do you think happens?
I think considering since they're a 2 seed, they're not going to drop super far because it's a top 5 matchup. So like that kind of speaks volumes within itself. But also Ohio State has proven themselves this year, so I don't see that. I don't see this one game completely dropping them out of the playoffs. But I definitely see them dropping out of the top 5 for sure. You're probably looking at like a 7, 6, 7, 8, somewhere around there. Just because Indiana's undefeated. They're coming in as big underdogs. That's pretty much it right there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they've already proven themselves. That's why we talked about that Indiana's going to have that big possible drop if they do lose, just because they haven't played anybody good enough to solidify their spot. But I'm rooting for the Hoosiers because I'm a basketball fan and I like the big bloods getting in there every once in a while.
Yeah. Last game to wrap up, another big game this week. We got number 8 Notre Dame versus number 24 Army. Army's 9-0 and Notre Dame's 9-1.
Yeah, the Army is trying to fight for a spot in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and they were close. You'd have to check what they were ranked in the college football rankings, but when I checked I think they were pretty close in there, right? And if they knock off a team like Notre Dame, they just might sneak in the top 15, and one more week, then they might get in there, right? Especially if a team like Ole Miss or Alabama or one of these 10-12 or 8-12 teams lose bad enough. You just might see an Army team sneak in there for the first time in the college football playoffs since I think it's like 1985 or something like that. So
Yeah, they're currently at plus 50,000 to win the national championship. So their chances of getting in are
probably pretty slim.
Yeah, well, they're actually sitting at 18 right now.
Okay, that's what I
AP
thought. It
top
was definitely
25.
higher than what the AP poll was.
Yeah, AP poll shows them sitting at 18. They actually dropped 2 spots, so they were at 16 last week.
Yeah, that's the hard part. It wasn't because of them. It just happened to be other teams play well. And that's the hard part with being in their situation. They run a triple option. Everybody knows who they are. They don't play big teams because they're not in a conference big enough for that to matter.
Absolutely.
That does suck, but like they have a chance here. Especially if it's a convincing win over Notre Dame, you have a chance to jump in the playoffs. And who isn't rooting for America to get in there?
Yeah, the spread's at minus 16 right now, so definitely not in their favor.
No.
But like you said, like it's kind of hard to root for them just because they're that big of an underdog, and you'd like to see one of those teams get in, kind of like a March Madness kind of deal for college basketball. It's hard to root against Notre Dame, but I really want the Army to win. So I'm gonna stick with the Army here, and I'm gonna go for that upset.
I'm going with the Army too, just because you know what I mean. It would be interesting. That's all I care about, right?
Yeah.
I don't care about either team personally. There's no connections, and I'm just looking for the best matchup. College football this year, they're looking to get some crazy upsets. Why not make another one?
Exactly. Moving on to college basketball, there's really only one game that really stands out this week, and it's that number 6 Purdue versus number 15 Marquette. Both teams are 4-0. They play tonight at 8:00. So, what are you thinking?
Yeah, Purdue losing Zach Edey has taken no steps backwards, in my opinion.
And that's what I was very surprised by.
Yeah, and Marquette, a program that's been pretty consistent over the last couple of years, has been one of those top teams.
Yeah.
This game's going to be the battle of teams, right? We're not going to see these big-time stars like Hunter Dickinson and Cooper Flagg and whoever you want to name, R.J. Davis, come out and steal the show. Now, there might be a guy who really does well.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a team effort down to the wire. I'm going to go Purdue. I just think that they've had more opportunity to be in big situations like this, and their coach is probably a little more prepared to handle big-time games, whereas Marquette's, yes, they've been good for the last couple of years, but it's just not enough for me to say that they're going to upset Purdue.
Yeah, both teams actually have guys who are leading their teams in multiple categories.
Yeah.
Purdue has Trey Kaufman-Renn.
Yeah.
He's a forward. He's leading them in points, 18 a game. Very efficient, 58% from the strike. He's also leading them in rebounds at 6.3 a game. And then for Marquette, you got Cam Jones. He's averaging 24. He's also very efficient, shooting 64.9% from the field. But he's also leading them in assists at 5 a game.
See, that's the thing. I was looking at that game, and his usage rate is so high, right?
Yeah.
You have to assume Purdue's matchup is, I'm going to take the ball out of his hands. Maybe it's a switch to blitz or a blitz to switch. Maybe it's I'm going to double off of him, and every time he gets the paint, it's heavy gap breaks, whatever you want to do. But they're going to have to get the ball out of his hand, because if you leave it up to him to either make a bucket happen or give it to a teammate open shot, you're done.
Absolutely.
And that's not a way they can win that game. They're going to have to put pressure on him and him alone.
Yes. But also to go along with that, if Purdue wants any chance of taking him completely out the game, put him at the foul line. They're both Trey and Cam. They're both only shooting 66.7% from the line. So if this game really comes down to the wire, these might be 2 guys that you might be willing to foul just to get you an extra possession or 2.
Those are no layups guys, is what we call them in college basketball.
Yes.
If they're near the basket because they are so efficient,
It's fouling.
you're better chance fouling them and they'll probably miss one of the 2, and then you have a chance to come back, and that's something we're probably going to see all game too, right? If he gets close, it's going to be a hack and shack kind of moment for Cam, and man, but it's still hard for me to believe that Purdue doesn't have that ready because of how good their coach is.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you got to look at the past 3 years they've
Yeah.
been in March Madness and made it far, Sweet 16 or more.
Yeah, it's obviously ED was part of that, but I think so much of it is the coaches.
I was gonna say, yeah. Once you've been there so many times, it kind of just becomes a culture and it becomes a habit for you to win and get that far. So like me seeing them lose this game is kind of hard, but also Marquette, they've been pretty good the last few years. But I mean, did they make the tournament last year?
They did.
Yeah. So I mean, they've also been making the tournament quite often. Now they haven't been making it as far, obviously. But I think, like I just said, once you get in that tournament a few times, you get a taste of what it feels like, and you get a taste, like far as coaching, you get an understanding and a taste of where you need to go as far as coaching wise. Like you start to make adjustments. You start to make adjustments in the offseason, far as like how you recruit, who you recruit, and how you coach. So
that's one thing I do appreciate about Purdue, right? They were in so heavy through Zach Edey last year, and a lot of people wondered they did recruit some big time centers in their team. Do they run it through the paint, even though their star player's not in the paint, if you know what I mean? And they've made adjustments to adjust their scheme, and that's why they're so good. I mean, they're still receiving first place votes without having that dominant center that they've had the last couple of years, and even years prior to when they were good. This coach just always runs to the paint. Now, obviously, their forward, he's still in the paint a decent amount. Yeah. But it's not. I'm going to get doubled. I'm going to dish it out, and that's how I'm going to get points. It's moving the ball around, getting guys in space, and that's what I like out of the Purdue offense.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, it's kind of the same thing with Marquette. They've never had a true dominant big.
No.
They've had some decent forwards, but they've always been a spread kind of offense.
Yeah.
They're always spread out. They're always moving the ball. And that's a team full of very smart basketball players. They're always looking for the back cuts. So far as like give and go or DHO, dribble handoff, for those who are not completely familiar with basketball terms, like they make very, very smart reads off of those.
Yeah.
So there's usually always somebody open for a three. So like, I mean, the 3-point percentage, I'd like to assume is pretty high.
It was the last time I checked; they were pretty high up there, and that's what happens when you create opportunities by driving and kicking, and you get open threes. And the best kind of threes are paint threes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. But man, college basketball it's going to be shake up soon. Just wait for it.
Yeah.
It's been pretty normal right now. I just give it a week. I promise.
Yeah, looking forward, my Duke Blue Devils, we play Arizona on Friday. So that's a must-watch game for those out there that are looking for games this week. Yeah, that's going to be a big one.
Duke and Kansas square off in a couple weeks, or maybe a week, less than a week now.
I believe so.
So I said there'll be matchups. They're coming.
Yeah.
Right. Especially when you get to the conference too, and those conference games. Every conference gets just a little more gritty, a little more, hard fouls and all that, which is what I like to watch. So
yeah, absolutely. Moving on to some NBA here. We got NBA Cup coming on tonight. We got the undefeated Cavaliers taking on my defending champion, the Celtics.
This is
11-3.
This is their loss, in my opinion. 15-0. You couldn't have paid me money to put down on a bet that they were going to be 15-0 to start the season, and I still don't believe that they're actually 15-0 good team. It's kind of similar to what the Chiefs have on the NFL. I don't think the Chiefs were 9-0 talent. I don't think they were good enough. They didn't play well to be 9-0, but you're 9-0.
Yeah.
The Cavs 15-0. You can't argue with that. They have 15 wins. But to me, they're not facing consistently good teams enough to prove them. And this is, Boston is a top team in the league for a reason. So, and a big game with the season tournament cup. And this has to be the one for me.
Yeah. Big things far as injuries go. Celtics are missing Peyton Pritchard and Kristaps Porzingis, but also the Cavs are missing Isaac Okoro, Karis LeVert, and Max Strus. So those are 3 key pieces for them, and then obviously 2 key pieces for the Celtics. So it's really just the battle of the guys who could stay healthy right now and play. Like you said, I believe this is going to be their first loss. The spread's at 5.5, which I'm not surprised by. But you're facing a champion, a recent champion, last year's champion. So it's kind of hard to bet against the champion. But I mean, you're 15-0, so obviously your record goes to prove something. You're doing something right. And Donovan was balling.
He's doing great.
He's balling.
Even if they end up somehow, being 65 win team,
Yeah.
they're not going to make anything in the playoffs. It's the same thing that Donovan Mitchell's always done. He wins in the regular season. He finds a way to get those dubs in those close games, and then he gets to the playoffs. They don't translate for whatever reason. So I'm not as a fan. I'm not too worried about the Cavs in the playoffs, anyways.
Yeah. Big game here. Nuggets and the Grizzlies. That's always a good matchup there. But what are you looking at there?
Yeah, the biggest difference, right? Jokic is going over some rookie Zach Edey, who we just talked about for last year's Purdue big. They're going to have to take advantage of that, right? Probably Jaren Jackson Jr. is probably going to guard him anyways. But
Okay, so this is why I said it's a big game. I'm looking at the injury report. Jokic is out.
Okay.
And Zach Edey is out.
Okay, so then your offense changes, right? Murray's going to get touches.
Yeah.
Porter's going to get touches.
Yeah.
And then, I guess Christian Brown is the third up. I don't know who else. Aaron Gordon, is he in?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. He's out.
He's out too.
Yeah. So you want me to read you the whole
Yeah,
injury report?
go ahead.
Okay, whole injury report. You got Jokic out till the 22nd. Aaron Gordon out till December 1st, and then DeRon Holmes Jr. out till the 1st. But when you look at the Grizzlies side, this is where things get interesting. It shakes up.
Okay.
Zach Edey's out till November 20th. Marcus Smart's out till November 19th. Ja Morant out till November 25th. Cam Spencer out till December 1st, and then Gigi Jackson Jr. out till January 3rd.
Man, so stars are they're gone.
Yeah.
So I think Nuggets take this one. Jamal Murray is by far the best player now this game. It's Jamal Murray and Desmond Bane, maybe.
Desmond Bane, Jamal Murray. You still have Jaren Jackson. Jaren Jackson's leading in scoring.
He's coming off that injury, and I'm not sure how consistently he can still play,
Yeah.
especially as the number one option. I've never seen him in that role. At least not do well in that role. So I think Nuggets are going to pull one out, and it's going to be tough though.
The Nuggets are actually the underdog.
I'm okay with that.
That's all I was waiting for you to. That's
I'm okay with
you to
that.
finish. The Grizzlies are their money line's at -230, and the Nuggets are +190.
I would take that all day just because I believe Mike Malone is that much better of a coach than like he's going to make that swing, because it's going to be a close game either way with all these stars out.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes down to it, with timeout management and ATO drawn up and playing the schemes to try to get your guys who don't usually touch the floor minutes and playing them well, I trust Mike Malone.
Yeah, absolutely. And then like, as far as next man up goes, Christian Brown, he's going to have a good night. He's going to have a good night. Because he has to. But we've seen him step up before.
Yeah, we
in
have
big moments like that. So that's why I think it's going to be a good game. And then the late night game, your Thunder versus the Spurs.
Yeah, that one's interesting. Right now, the last time they played, it was Chet versus Victor. That was the whole story, and it wasn't close. Victor got killed, right? But now the Thunder have no big, like quite literally no big, and they're playing a 7-3 Victor Wembanyama.
Wemby's out.
Wemby's out. Of course he
out
is.
till
Gosh,
21st.
what are all these injuries, man?
That's what I'm saying. Like, these are big games. The Thunder 11-3, San Antonio 6-8. But your leading scorer for the Spurs, Wemby, is out, and your leading rebounder, Wemby. So how does that look? Because Shea's your leading scorer, and he's also your leading assister.
Yeah.
And your leading rebounder, and Chet's out. So
yeah. With Victor out, it's not a close game in my opinion. I mean, Vassell's going to get some good minutes. As probably their next guy up scoring wise. Stephon Castle should get some good minutes. Obviously, Chris Paul is going to run that offense, so he's going to get a lot of minutes. But he's probably out too. Is what he was about to say.
Vassell's out.
Okay, that's great. I thought he came back, but I guess not.
He's supposed to come back. Oh wait, he might be back today.
I think tonight's his first.
His
night.
expected return date is today,
Yeah.
so he might be back. So yeah, a second scoring option is there for sure. And then for the Thunder, you got Isaiah Joe out, and you got Jalen Williams out, and Isaiah Hartenstein.
Yeah, Hearts. Hope then Thunder need a big, right? That's the big storyline.
Yeah,
They made it work kind of for now,
yeah,
but they haven't faced a a big, scary enough for me to make a difference, right? Because when you do face a Jokic, when you face a Anthony Davis, the DeMonte Sabonis, any guys like that, you're just there's no chance you can go in there with a 6'5" center and try to win that game.
The one big that they do have that they could put in there is Jalen Williams.
Yeah, is he
He
healthy?
As far as I'm seeing right now, he's healthy.
Okay, he was out. He's been out since the season started.
Oh, no, okay. Maybe he still is out. Okay.
Yeah, J-Dub.
A hamstring. So
J-Dub is actually the tallest starter was Shea. It's been Shea, right? Yeah. 6'6", and they've been putting Dort at the 5, which they kind of like a little scrappy big or a little scrappy guard who's going to get into it. And they've been running what we call a 55, right? A post double as soon as the ball gets on the paint.
Yeah.
Just to get it out, right? And they're scrappy enough to run around and get that defense. It's been working really well. I mean, they literally gave up 88 points a couple games ago.
I would say, I mean, it works. We've seen teams run it before, even at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
It works really well. But just looking at this now, Thunder actually just signed a 7-footer 3 days ago, center position, Brandon Carlson. He went to the University of Utah. He's 25.
I didn't see that. I don't know how fast he'll get in the lineup or integrated. I think he's going to play decent. He's going to be that guy they put in for minutes with like Jokic when they play Jokic, when they play, that's why he's there. But in a game like this, I mean, in any game where you're not playing a top 5 big, he's not going to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, at this point, though, they really do need to look at getting maybe Dwight Howard. I
mean, hey, he's been asking for an opportunity to come back. This seems like a prime opportunity for him to come back. Granted, he really wants to come back and play with the Lakers, but I mean, hey.
He said he was open. I've heard him say he's open to the Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to get offered an NBA contract from any team,
yeah, I'm just going to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a position that I know needs filling and I'm a good basketball player myself, why not take it?
He's still in great shape, so you're not worried about that. It's just
he still plays.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be the biggest is going to be adjustment to the speed. I mean, there's no faster league than the NBA.
Yeah.
And obviously the talent's probably a little different, but he's still in physical shape, which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And he's pretty good conditioning is what I've seen.
Absolutely.
He was staying ready. So
yeah.
I'm a big fan of Dwight Howard. Just for a year contract and get him in until you get Hart signing Chet back, and then he can sit on the bench, catch a ring.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you all joining us for Balls and Bow Ties. We've gone both live on TikTok and our normal spots. So we appreciate you all joining us for this new experiment. We, again, want to thank our sponsors, Viva Tequila Seltzer, Wager Wire, and Atlantic Seafood. I'm your co-host, Noah Franke.
And I'm your other co-host, Rhyan Shanklin.
And we hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Enjoy the end-season cup, and then we'll be back next week with more college football as it gets down to the end of the wire. And as the NFL gets a little closer to the playoffs, so what does that mean for each team, and what is the playoff looking like? You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.